the answers, no answers. I could find you, I could find
From the Sporting News Studios, this is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Matt Litevsky.
I got all the answers, all the answers. I could find you, I could find all the answers. If you let me get it close and study you.
Big week, guys. I'm going to start every show like that just to make it more grandiose. Big week.
Week zero?
Oh, true.
Week
for
zero.
the NFL, it is kind of week zero right now.
Yeah, it's week 0 for the NFL. A lot of people going to be doing drafts this weekend, drafts early next week. That's why we had to come in. Last week we talked about our favorite sleepers. This week, bus. Do not draft list, which isn't really a do not draft list because all it takes is one of these guys falling one round more.
These guys are all going to be drafted.
And we'd all draft.
They're all going to be drafted.
That's like, I always laugh when I see those articles, do not draft lists. Like, I wanted to see.
It's like, if all 12 people in that league read that, then just so those guys just aren't going to get drafted.
It should only be 4 stringers. Like, don't draft Matthew Slater. Like, thanks, guys.
Unless you have a special team slot.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
most people
I'm in
don't.
a few of those leagues.
Yeah, well, you're not, but that's fine. That was.
I'm in 26 leagues. So.
We know someone who is or claims to be. That was Eric Ferreira, DAZN employee, fantasy football commissioner, fantasy football participant.
Big week for commissioners out there. I've been doing a lot of spreadsheet keeper work this week.
This should be, like, people talk about Labor Day. It should be Commissioner Day.
Right.
Really.
I mean, maybe like Commissioner Appreciation Week.
It really should be.
People in my league should send me something.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, you should get
lunch.
paid extra. That person who claimed to be in 26 leagues also tried to get $5 extra from everyone.
For setting up Yahoo leagues.
Yeah, not like a
That's
complicated
hard.
keeper.
That's hard.
Yes. Also here with us, Billy Hayen, Fantasy Sporting News, fantasy intern, not just for all fantasy football. Intern.
Might as well be, right?
Yeah, I guess you might as well be. I'm Sporting News senior fantasy editor Matt Litevsky, and we are talking bust. We're going to go through basically kind of what we did last week, where we're just going to go by position. We didn't do it as quite as formally in terms of, hey, this is an all bust team, but at the end of the day, that's kind of what it turned out to be. We just don't have a flex like we did last week. We decided we didn't need that.
You don't need to flex a bust.
No, you don't need that. Because, last week I was like, well, this gives us more leeway. We can all throw in an extra sleeper at any position, but for bus, we don't need to do it.
If you were going to flex... If you were going to flex a bust, would that make him closer to the sleeper side? Because he's like barely making your bust team.
Right. And again, one round is all it takes to flip. So we're going to go through each position. We don't have a defense. We don't have a kicker because, we don't need to talk about them. We're gonna go off the rails enough as it is.
That's true.
Yeah. So we'll start with quarterbacks. And again, we're not saying don't draft these guys and they're going to be terrible. We're just saying right now we think their ADPs are a little bit inflated. If you can get them several rounds lower, if your draft is different, by all means take them. But overall, we don't think what they're going to do matches their preseason outlook. So we'll start with you, Billy. Your quarterback, greatest of all time, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Fantasy staple.
He is a fantasy staple, but he's also old.
Yes.
And
What?
The thing that caught me about Tom Brady.
Don't tell me he's a year older than last year.
Yeah, that's my move.
Yeah.
He's only getting older.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But the thing that caught me was as we did like the quarterback preview podcast a couple weeks ago, Brady was going like 18th, 19th among quarterbacks. Right now he's going 12th according to the Fantasy Pros data.
Yeah,
which
I don't understand why it went up.
To
Is it
me,
all
feels
Josh
like
Gordon?
a Josh Gordon thing, but like it feels like it shouldn't have done that with Josh Gordon. They're like
I should have put Josh Gordon on my list, actually. I'm changing it on the fly.
Good.
When we get to receivers, I'm going to add Josh Gordon because I think it's crazy the way people are just like all in on Josh Gordon.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. But I like so if like you're saying 6 or 7 spots at quarterback for Brady is because of Gordon, like first of all, you're probably assuming that Gordon plays 16 games, which just seems unlikely.
Right.
You're also assuming that they're like not more committed to the run, even though they just spent a pretty high draft pick on another running back. And like last year, he was the 14th fantasy quarterback. Why would he do any better than that? To me, it's just weird. It's like people a couple weeks ago were all like in on Kyler Murray, and like now he's going behind Brady. Like I just can't see picking Brady like in the 9th round as your starting quarterback. 12th among quarterbacks means.
And he was way lower in fantasy points per game. And look, the other thing, he won the Super Bowl last year, so it's like we don't want to admit it. He's not as good.
Right.
He just wasn't as good last year. Come on,
I know.
Patriots fan.
I know, but I mean, but the Patriots also. I mean, maybe not so much for the quarterback position, but they play for December and January.
Right.
They're just, they don't need to show off some high-flying offense. They don't need to pad his stats.
Right.
They're just trying to keep everyone healthy, get better, and have a playoff run.
Right.
I think they potentially could lead the league in rushing touchdowns this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Thanks for making my argument for me. That was good.
No problem. And the thing with quarterbacks too, we know it can come down to just like, hey, those 3 play action touchdowns to some crappy offensive lineman tackle eligible play. Like it can flip on some points like that. It doesn't take a lot of points for a guy to go from 16th to 11th.
Right. And it's not like Brady's gonna not have a couple of 3 TD games.
Yeah, of course.
But I think he's gonna have some 1 TD games too.
Right.
Yeah. No more Gronk.
So he's a backup to me and a matchup play. Sounds weird.
Just to make this argument a little more, because your guy Phillip Rivers, that you like and think he's going way too low, he's going 5 quarterbacks below Brady, and there's no way Rivers has a worse fantasy season than Brady.
I just feel like that's A, what's the difference, and B, the difference is the Chargers are probably going to pass more,
right?
And he has better receivers.
Yeah.
So kind of strange. Eric, who's yours?
Mine is Russell Wilson. You have him Sport News ranked number 5. Looks like Fantasy Pros ADP is, where is he? He's 8th, so he's a little bit lower there.
Right.
I just think Seattle wants to run with Carson, with Penny.
Run.
Last year he was the 9th. He had the 9th most fantasy points for quarterbacks. I don't see how that really gets any better. Definitely not for the 5th ranking that Sport News has. His receiving core, he's got Lockett, but behind Lockett, Jerron Brown, David Moore's hurt. DK Metcalf's a rookie, and he's again hurt. No tight end, Will Dissly. These aren't exactly playmakers.
So here's my counter.
Okay.
He does it every year.
Well, he doesn't though. Last year he was 9th. So
he had 35 touchdown passes. He didn't run quite. He had no rushing touchdowns last year. Okay. That feels like it's going up, even if they are
it can't go down.
Good point. It's just like he's a year older. But even if they consciously are saying we don't want to run him as much, like we're paying him a ton of money now, we don't want to expose him, he's going to have at least a couple rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, sure.
If you say the passing touchdowns go down, that's fair. But this guy he's elite quarterback. He's as consistent as any quarterback's been. And the other thing too, I don't think a guy signs the contract he signs to not throw the ball. No quarterback is like...
If he's making business decisions, he doesn't want to get hurt.
Well, he's going to throw the ball.
No, hand the ball off.
He's not going to hand the ball
Look,
off.
I just think...
He's competitive.
He was 9th last year. There's no way he should be ranked 5th. Guys we have behind him that I would easily take over him.
Easily.
Goff, Breeze, Rivers, Roethlisberger.
Say Josh Allen. Say it.
I won't say Josh Allen.
Say Josh Allen.
I won't say Josh Allen.
Well, here's the thing.
But there's 4 guys. I'll happily take.
You would easily
take those guys over him. Yep.
Easily.
I do think that
Phil Rivers.
All right. I do think the Doug Baldwin retirement matters. I mean, you just said it matters, but he was Wilson's most targeted receiver for each of the last 6 seasons. So all of a sudden, you've just got this void, and who knows? In general, their receiving core hasn't been great. Wilson's sort of done it with some guys who sort of came out of nowhere. So maybe he does it again, but there is sort of a bigger question mark probably with the Baldwin thing than there has been.
And it's also, it's compared to where they're going to be, what pick you have to spend to get Wilson.
Right.
And
he's going low.
I'd easily rather have those. He's not though. He's going, according to Fantasy Pros, he's the 8th quarterback off the board.
Yeah, but his overall round isn't that high.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying these other guys you're going to get later. And I think they're going to do just as well, if not better.
Yeah, that's fair. That's the whole thing about the quarterback position is it's so deep. But the other thing too, I think if you look at pass attempts last year, 427 for Wilson. Compare that to Matt Ryan, 608. Compare that to even Phillip Rivers, 508. There's a lot. I think he's going to pass more. I know you think they're going to run all the time, and I do think they're still going to be a running team, but I do think he's going to pass more. And
he might pass more than that, but it's still relative to other guys, and those other guys aren't going to pass any less.
Right. We'll see. I like him.
Of course, you ranked him 5th.
I like him.
So I'm coming right at you.
Yeah, you're coming right at me. All right, Kyler Murray's my pick. I talked about this in our QB preview podcast. He's just too small. That's it. It's too small.
You're a height supremacist?
Too short. I'm a height supremacist. No, I just think they're
not even that tall, just for full disclosure.
Yeah, I know. I just think there's so many questions with him that people are just like, hey, he's cool and fast and he'll run around. The whole garbage point thing is very applicable here, but you throw in his size, you throw in the bad offensive line, the college coach coming over with an offense that kind of didn't work in college. There's and the lack of receivers.
Well, yeah, that's the thing I feel like that's being left out with the whole Kyler Murray's going to be awesome thing. If he had a bunch of weapons, he'd be like, okay.
Right.
But he doesn't.
Right.
So, I mean, next year, they might bring in some weapons for him. Might be a different story, but I don't see playmakers around him besides David
He's
Johnson.
going to have huge games. And I've said, I think he'll have one week 1 against the Lions at home. I think he'll have a huge game and we'll all freak out and everyone will get super excited. And then he's going to have some duds. Now, maybe he can always get enough garbage points and can always run around enough to give himself a high floor. I could see it, but I don't know. I just think people are overdrafting him by a lot.
There's also 2 other quarterbacks that are going to have, like if you think Murray's going to run for 60, 70 yards a game, there's 2 other quarterbacks that are going to do that often too. And no one's talking about Lamar Jackson.
Right.
And I'm the only one talking about Josh Allen.
You're not the only one talking about Josh Allen. The only one?
Me and his family.
I think you can even throw Trubisky in there to some extent. He won't be quite as high as those guys, but he runs around too. Yeah, but Jackson's interesting because I think a lot of the same worries of Murray in terms of his size and injury potential are there, but he's not going as high as Murray, so he seems like a good backup to take, whereas Murray feels like a guy you have to overdraft.
And Murray, I mean, is sort of getting that like shiny new thing treatment a little bit, like whereas like we saw Josh Allen like down the stretch last year. He's one of like the top 5 fantasy quarterbacks. If you like section off some of those last weeks of the season.
And a lot of the same worries in terms of weapons around them, things like that.
Right, and like we've seen it, and somehow that makes them less exciting though than Murray, who just is almost being drafted as a starter.
He's exciting. I wonder how much the Baker Mayfield last year has carried over to Murray, given same college, both winning the Heisman, et cetera. All right, let's get to running backs. Billy, your picks.
Leonard Fournette and Derrick Henry are my 2. And I think they're both just unexplosive, kind of big dudes. We can go to Fournette first, I guess. He never really he always had this huge hype train. Before LSU, super hyped. Went to LSU, was good, but then wasn't
had some injuries.
Right. And then he shows up in the NFL. He doesn't even run for 4 yards a carry in his rookie year, where he was sort of people think back on that as like a good year.
That inflated his numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
But then overall, not great. Last year he stunk.
Yeah, last year
he got hurt.
I mean, you had him, Eric, so that was a train wreck. Yeah.
He's not a great.
I had Derrick Henry, so I'm going to get reminded.
Right, I brought up.
Yeah,
Derrick,
but he won you the Super Bowl. He won you the Super Bowl.
No, I wasn't in the playoffs.
End of the season.
No.
What? You mean you didn't make the playoffs?
No,
with Derrick Henry.
I missed him.
You didn't get to use all those great stats.
I literally got 0 of his touchdowns last year in my lineup.
You must not be that good at fantasy football.
I wasn't last year, but it's not because
everyone knew to play the long game with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, everyone knew that.
Everyone knew.
To start him on a Thursday night against one of the best run defenses in the league, where he'd go for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, everyone knew that.
Everyone knew that.
Plan.
I should. Well, I wasn't in the playoffs, so I could have played him.
You could have set your lineup anyway. So
for the consolation bracket.
You would have been in there.
You killed the consolation bracket with Derrick Henry last year.
Yeah, he was on my bench in the consolation bracket.
It's a good place for him.
Yeah, so it didn't even matter. No, I mean, I think Fournette. He's one of these guys I still have faith in, but I don't really have a reason for that because he hasn't looked that good.
Well, right, he's going 12th among running backs, which again just feels like somebody's getting him as their first running back.
Yeah, you don't feel great if he's your starter.
I will say I'm a lot more comfortable with him in a standard league.
Yeah.
PPR league, I'm almost completely uninterested in him.
But who's going to catch passes there? Maybe he just can't. I don't know. Now that Yeldon's gone,
right?
They're a weird team.
I'm just saying
he's a weird player.
In a PPR league, I'm really, really not interested in him.
Yeah.
In a standard league, there's a spot where you're second round. All right, I'm gonna do it. And probably score some TDs.
Right.
PPR, man.
He's a weird guy.
It just feels like with the injuries that he's had and keeps having, and he's just it doesn't really feel like there's upside for a guy that is sort of as hyped up as he's always been.
Right.
He's going to be a strong, plotty guy who scores some touchdowns.
What about the bounce back here, though? What about the pride?
What's he bouncing back to?
I mean, a career year. Breakout.
Reestablishing himself, realizing that he needs to take football seriously.
This guy was always, you love pedigree. This guy was always the best running back.
Right.
Always.
You know who was better in college than Leonard Fournette at the same school? Darius Geis.
Yeah, he was good.
You know who's going to be a starting running back this year?
No.
Darius Geis.
You think so?
And you know who's not getting drafted anywhere near Leonard Fournette? Darius Geis.
You think Darius Geis is going to have a better fantasy season than Leonard Fournette?
I think there's a decent chance of it.
Wow, put your money where your mouth is,
Strong.
then.
I like that. I'm a Darius
Yeah.
Geis owner. I'm
Sure.
a Dynasty League Darius Geis owner.
Think of all the things you can rhyme with Geis.
Matt's been
lot of
poo-pooing
things.
him all preseason while I've been talking about keeping him. He's been comparing him to Ronald Jones, which
Right. Who's better?
He runs like Adrian Peterson now, which Ronald Jones is not to.
Right. Okay, so Derrick Henry, I'll take this one, even though he wasn't my pick.
right.
He sucks. And he's just, everyone got excited by the end of last year and contract year, and they're committed to him. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't think he can ever be consistent. I just, maybe he's a touchdown guy and that really inflates his value, but he hasn't even really been that in the past.
No.
For his size, it's
Right.
crazy. They still have James White, who's going to handle a lot of, even carries.
Deion Lewis.
Deion Lewis,
yeah,
sorry.
that's not
my
the
bad.
Patriots third
I
down
know,
backs.
my
Come
bad. Same guy. They might be the same guy, and we don't know. They just go back and forth and
aren't
play
the
on
same
both
guy,
teams.
but-
Yeah, they're the same guy. So he's going to get carries as well as all the receptions. I just don't believe in him. Bottom line.
I could buy that he's more talented than we've seen.
Right.
But my problem with him is that team,
Yeah.
that offense.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
But they run.
They do.
That's a plus.
That's a plus. Their quarterback play is so bad. So bad.
And last year, their offensive line, they were worst in the league in yards before first contact.
Right.
Now, Derrick Henry's a big dude. He'll fall forward and get a couple.
But he
if
never
he's
really
getting hit-
broke tackles when
Well,
you
right.
watched
If
it.
he's getting hit in the backfield, he's not running. He's not like that 99-yard touchdown run. It doesn't happen again.
Right.
Like the first 12 games of the season, he averaged 3.7 yards per carry, and then his season got saved by those 2 big weeks. So
I just don't buy it. And, they do like to run him out there in Wildcat, though, so he could throw a touchdown or two this year.
hey, he might be as good a passer as they've gotten in Tennessee. So
Isn't that funny how just out people are on Mariota?
It's not the people's fault. It's Mariota's fault. He's been terrible.
He hasn't been great. And
It's
he
not like
hasn't
it's like, man, he's really getting unfair,
Like
ripping from the fans. No, he hasn't been good.
made the
they've been
playoffs.
talking up Ryan Tannehill as possibly starting. That's how bad.
Who's
Mariota's
talking
been.
that up?
They're beat writers.
People.
Yeah, they're
People out
beat right.
there.
Beat writers don't know anything.
No,
They're just trying
they
to
only
get
watch
views.
They only watch
They're
every
just trying to
practice.
get clicks.
They only watch every practice.
Their
and
whole
every
goal
round.
is to get clicks. So if you're the Titans beat writer and you write, hey, quarterback controversy, you're gonna get a lot of clicks, even if it's true or not. So that I take no stock in that.
right, I'm gonna
Tannehill,
no comment.
Get out of here. All right, Eric, hit me with your running back.
All right, I'm going Marlon Mack and your boy Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, Mac, that's just a play on no Andrew Luck. It's also a play on him staying healthy. He played 12 games last year. I don't know how durable he is. I don't like that Luck's not there. I mean, yeah, maybe they run the ball more because they don't have Luck winging it around, but I don't think their offense will move the ball as well without Luck either. Naheem Hines is still there catching passes. Kind of like I'd have to get him really low to be.
So
interested in Marlon
how
Mack.
excited were you before the injury, the Luck injury?
Moderately. I mean, he's in the mix of a bunch of dudes. It's like, I mean, I'd rather have Carson than him. I'd probably rather take a shot on Devontae Freeman than him.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, definitely Aaron Jones.
You know who's going lower than him is Mark Ingram, and I know Eric likes Mark Ingram.
That's criminal.
I don't really understand that.
What?
Neither do I.
Him going lower
Yeah,
or me thinking
Mark Ingram
Ingram's gonna
going
be awesome?
lower.
Yeah, that makes no
They're just
sense.
going to run a billion times.
Here's the thing. He caught some passes in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they act like he's just like this plotting non-PPR back. Like he caught they
Well, I think the worry is they might not throw to him.
that's fair.
But
But
then
in
he'll be getting carries.
But
now.
in New Orleans, they didn't have like him and Kamara would just played series.
Yeah.
No one was the goal line back. No one was the third down back. They ran the same offense between
Right.
either one of them. So you shouldn't think the guy can't catch. He's a good running back. Now we're talking about Mark Ingram.
Yeah, I don't need to do that. So a couple stats for you. Indy. Now, it's tough to compare them in 2017 to last year because different coach, different play callers. Offensive line was way worse. Those are, I think, makes it a little apples and oranges. But obviously, Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback. So we look at it that way. 2017, Indy, 31st in total offense and 30th in scoring offense. Last year, 7th in total offense, 5th in scoring offense. So the whole idea of just they're not going to score as much, they're not going to move the ball as well. It's common sense, but like when you look at those numbers, it's really stark.
That's also not that Brissett's played a lot since then.
Right.
But that was also his first year.
Right,
I mean,
a worse Brissett.
2 years of maturity.
There's a
playbook
lot
and
of
all that
factors.
Stuff. They had better defense.
Right. And they had 57 more carries last year than the year before, which might just come down to having the lead more, more plays, etc. So, yeah, I think Mac, he's interesting. I wonder if there's going to be an overcorrection on him because he's still a starting running back.
Yeah.
And I think in drafts it'll be real interesting if he falls too far now and people overreact to the Luck news.
Right. Most of that offense is solid. The offensive line's okay.
The offensive line's great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's an interesting one. So, Tevin Coleman, I love this guy.
You do.
This feels like a troll.
Well, you have him. Sport News has him ranked 15th.
Yeah.
15th running back. Let's see. Fantasy Pros, ADP.
He's like 20th, 26th. I mean, he's way down there.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah, he's in like flex range.
That's probably more fair. I guess my beefs with the Sport News rank.
Thanks.
I just think now
the zone employee.
McKinnon had another setback today.
Right.
So he's probably not going to be in the mix. But I do think Matt Breida is going to be in the mix. I feel
What about Matt Breida?
Matt Breida is going to be in the mix.
Okay,
it's a
well,
three-headed monster.
Gotcha.
I think it's going to be a full-on committee.
Could be.
I really think, and maybe there's enough points out there for both of them to get some, but I certainly don't think he should be the 15th running back off the board. That's for sure. Hasn't had a good preseason, which take that for what it's worth. Breida's done pretty well too.
Yeah, both of them.
Both have done well. I'm just not really interested in them. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's the goal line back, but I think it's going to be a split.
I think the biggest knock against him was that he should have had the job to himself last year in Atlanta, and he really didn't do that great. Like, he was fine. I think he was like 18th or something. He finished fantasy points, and that seems like a better situation, like better offense.
Now, Breida could get hurt, too. Breida could get hurt. And, could have it all to himself,
I think I'm putting too much stock in the reunion with Shanahan.
Probably.
And he maximized, and like he wanted him. He
How
went
do you
out,
feel about
got
him
him.
being off turf and on natural grass, though?
And that's always a worry.
God, I hate that.
You never know how that's going to...
Now, he's a big guy, though, so
Right.
maybe he digs in a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
Maybe not. You never know.
I only draft backs who play on turf.
Outdoors instead of indoors. San Francisco's rainy.
I only draft quarterbacks and kickers who play inside,
Got to.
and running backs and receivers who play on turf.
Play on turf.
That's
You got to
it.
maximize that
That's
speed,
it.
that 40 time. So, yeah, I'm putting a lot of stock in that reunion. They went out and got him, even though they went out and got McKinnon last year, who they really liked. So they clearly must like Coleman, maybe even more. And then with McKinnon being hurt, Breida and Breida both get hurt a lot. So, I don't know. I'm just in on them. I think the offense is going to be a lot better this year with Garoppolo back, even though he obviously hasn't looked great in the preseason. And it's just sometimes you got to make a call.
And
sometimes you make a call.
Don't forget Mozart's there.
Yeah, old Mozart.
Jeff Wilson's there.
Are they all still there?
They're all there. I mean, Mozart's hurt.
Alfred Morris isn't there anymore
No,
either.
Morris
He's in
is
Dallas.
Dallas, right?
No, I know.
Yeah, Mozart's there. Jeff Wilson's there.
God, Mozart
I mean,
was
they got
great
bodies
last year.
They got bodies.
I think I started every one of those guys last
Also,
year.
we
for at
definitely
least
talked
one
about
game.
we talked about every single one of the podcasts. For sure.
all the time.
I do like that we've turned the negative of not knowing how to pronounce Matt Breida's name
Yeah.
into a positive bit for us by
Right.
just calling both
Saying
names.
both. Let's just
Two
do it.
guys.
I could look it up, but you know what? I don't want to.
Yeah, Breida,
I don't want
Breida.
to at this point.
I don't know.
You got anything to add about Tevin Coleman?
I'm sort of in your boat on this one.
Okay.
I also think that like the good thing about Coleman is that we've got him ranked higher than everywhere else, and you don't actually have to draft him that high.
Right.
So,
Well, look.
Do we need to do some board bets?
Well, look, here's going to be sort of an ultimate board bet. We were talking about this earlier. I'm going to be at the end of the odd rounds in our draft, ninth pick.
I'm going to be at the
12.
beginning of them.
And he's going to be right behind you.
Right.
So I'm saying I have to, if I want Tevin Coleman, I got to take him on the 3-4 swing.
Right.
Because he's not getting past Billy.
Don't worry. If he
in the
gets by
fifth.
Billy, he's getting by me.
Well, I know that. but he's
I'll
got
pick him at
2
the next-
picks.
I'll pick him.
Yeah,
on the
you
other
know
side of
that
the
you
turn.
can wait 2
So he
picks.
can take him in the 5th. So I know I can't get him in the 5th. So I have to take him in the 4th.
Consider yourself lucky.
That's going to be a reach. And I'm going to get a bad draft grade from Yahoo, which I hate. It makes me feel
What if
bad
we
about
made some
myself.
agreements right now and we were like, hey, everyone, is everyone cool with Matt taking Coleman in the 4th? Would
In
you
the
take
5th.
that?
I'm going to get him in the 4th. I don't have to make an agreement to get him in the 4th.
Okay.
I want an agreement in the 5th. And I want
What do I
Darwin
get?
Thompson
What
in
do
the
I get?
10th,
No,
which
you're
I'm
not.
not going to get.
You're not getting Darwin Thompson.
is
he's
grade
on.
A
you
board
might as well
bullshit.
put him on my team now because I'm
so
getting him and I'm going
garbage.
to dangle him
When are
by
you
your
gonna take
desk every week.
When are you going to
Don't
take
say
him?
dangle
6th
by your
round.
desk.
Okay, I'll let you have him in the 6th.
All right. Let's get to
Before my quarterback.
Speaking of Darwin Thompson,
Yeah.
one of my busts, and the reason I like Darwin Thompson so much is Damian Williams. We've talked about him before. I don't think any of us really like him. I'm almost wondering now if we're going too far. I'm swinging back to him.
I like him as if you could get him for nothing. Because I think
I like a lot of players if I can get them for nothing.
I'm not really that against Williams. I just don't think he's gonna last. So if you got him super cheap, or if you were keeping him or something,
it just feels like a trap.
Yeah,
it feels like
you're not getting 16 awesome games out of him.
So last year, right after Hunt's suspension, Williams averaged almost 80 total yards a game, scored 6 TDs, and then in the playoffs just went off. 250 yards, total yards, 4 touchdowns in 2 games. So it just feels like it's just a trap. He was too good. And there's a lot of factors to look at. Him coming in fresh at the end of the season when other guys aren't as fresh, including the defenses he was playing against. It looks like Carlos Hyde's going to get cut, even if he stays on the team. It doesn't look like he's going to be a big issue, but it looks like Darwin Thompson is going to be an issue now. And I'm sure he'll start the year and he'll be in that position, and he might even have a good first couple weeks. But like you're saying, I don't think he's really going to last, and it just feels like a trap.
Right. He's in that high-powered offense, which obviously makes him sort of interesting. But I mean, Thompson's been getting goal line work in practice with the first team. There's just a lot of ways that all of a sudden Damian Williams is the passing down back and not getting a lot of carries, and then obviously he's not a top 15 running back at that point.
Right. So yeah, I just think he's getting now. His ADP has slid since the start of mock draft season. Right. Because I think a lot of people are sort of coming to this conclusion, and they're reading the Darwin Thompson hype and sort of.
It hasn't slid that far though.
No, not a ton.
Do you think anyone mistakenly takes Darrell Williams instead of Damian Williams?
I hope so.
He's going to make the team too, ahead of Carlos Hyde.
I feel like that could easily happen.
I was in an auction draft.
Remember pitcher Ryan Braun?
Yeah. I was in an auction draft one year where the guy nominating first nominated fake Adrian Peterson and got somebody else to bid $70, just boom.
That happened. I was in a baseball auction where someone did that with pitcher Ryan Braun.
Yeah.
And he did it, and he was like, oh, mistake. He did that on purpose, and I know he did. All right, my other back. This one, I don't necessarily think this guy's bad or a bust. Again, I just think he's being overdrafted. That's David Montgomery. He's the cool rookie. It's funny. I think Josh Jacobs is still going higher, but it doesn't seem like he's the cool rookie. It just feels like, well, he's a starter. Got to take him higher. Whereas David Montgomery seems to be the guy that people really are excited about and want. And he's looked good. I can't take that away from him. He's in a pretty good spot. I just think his ceiling is going to be a lot lower because of Tariq Cohen. Again, the lazy comparison is Kareem Hunt, just because of the Matt Nagy connection, the third-round pick connection. I don't think that's an apt comparison because Tariq Cohen's going to play more than anyone on the Chiefs played in Kareem Hunt's rookie year.
Right, and you've got Mike Davis there, who they went out and got. And again, not that maybe Mike Davis gets 25 or 30% of the carries, but that's carries
it's
that
enough
Montgomery's
to matter.
Not getting.
So there's upside for sure. He's looked elusive. I like all that. But the idea, is he going to get the goal line carries? I think that's a fair question. He'd get him over Tariq Cohen, but there's a lot of questions with him. I just think people are a little too excited, but we see these types of rookies, they can really go either way. They can go off. I remember Kareem Hunt's rookie year. I drafted him, I think, early 4th, and he was awesome. So I get why people are excited, but I don't know. I always feel there's another back who's maybe a little more proven that I would rather pick.
Do you have an example of that?
David Montgomery is another guy going ahead of Mark Ingram.
No, that can't be true.
It is true.
Get out of here.
He's also going ahead of Matt's favorite, Tevin Coleman.
Well, that I can understand. Coleman's trash, but
well, come on.
No, wait a minute. What league is someone taking Montgomery over Mark Ingram?
I don't know. The Mark Ingram hate, a couple mocks I was in, Mark Ingram just kept going, and it was I don't really get it. But
the one thing
I need to be in some of these leagues because I need some Mark Ingram in my life.
The one thing about Mark Ingram, he's a little old.
Yeah.
So how about this, Montgomery or Phil Lindsay? I know we're scared of Lindsay.
I feel like you got to take Lindsay,
right?
But
Lindsay's going after him.
You might regret that.
Sony Michel's going after him.
Which that one I'm probably okay with. I'm not that high on Michel.
I teed that one up for the Patriots fan in the room.
Yeah, I haven't been high on Michel at all, but I'm starting to question myself because all the reports of him are glowing. But he's another guy. I don't think he's durable. I don't think he's going to last. I think they're going to split tons of carries. I don't think he's going to be a part of the passing game. So is Michelle going to have a couple of 2 TD games?
I'm sure.
Absolutely. But is he going to, are you going to like line him up to play?
Well, but he's probably going to have them when you think Damian Harris is the starter.
Right.
You're going to be like, oh my God, they're not playing Michelle today. Why is that?
Why is that? Yeah. So here's, I guess, you know what my thing with Montgomery is? I'll probably be drafting another position. When he's the best running back on the board, I'll probably say I can get better value at wide receiver.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my take on that. Let's go to wide receiver.
So am I not taking Mark Ingram in like the 3rd round? Is that not going to be?
He's not making it because I'm taking him on the 3-4 swing. I'll take him over Tev Coleman.
And if he didn't, then I would take him before you.
Okay.
So you got to.
So these are just other weird leagues that David Montgomery is going before.
Well, people clearly aren't as smart as us. I mean,
you don't see them in this podcast.
No, you don't. And I mean,
that's how we got the job.
We earned it.
You don't
smartest
see
people
us in this podcast either.
Right. Eric and I finished 11th and 12th last year in the Sporting News League.
Last year's intern won. I've got a lot to love.
Yeah, he killed it.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
That's right.
We're back this year. I've already said this is the year of me in fantasy football. I am back.
Right. You're back.
I'm back.
This is your year.
You in Texas. Texas is back. Eric is back.
You're back. All right, wide receivers. Billy, you've been beating the Adam Thielen's overrated drum all offseason. So he's one of yours.
I just don't feel good about that offense, like giving him the work that he got in the first half of last season. Obviously, he was the man through week 8 last year.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't. Stephon Diggs out-targeted him in the second half. They've got a healthy Dalvin Cook who's looked good. The reports are good. They probably are going to run more than they did last year.
Eric doesn't like Dalvin Cook anymore because someone bit him up in his keeper
someone
league.
ruined my day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, Eric.
Didn't you pick Kirk Cousins as your sleeper quarterback last week?
I did.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Thielen can still have a good year.
Right. Yeah. Like
just not a 9th overall year.
Right.
Sure.
Like Thielen, maybe he's 20th among wide receivers or something. Like I think my wide receiver podcast, like quote bold prediction was that Diggs finishes higher than Thielen. I think there's like a reasonable.
Isn't that bold?
Right. It's not that bold. I think there's a reasonable.
Was that more of like a gut Thielen or
Thielen? Hooked on a Thielen. I'm hooked on a Thielen, so I'm taking him.
That was so good that I was speechless.
Yeah.
But,
that's what I bring to the table.
See, I always say can't stop the Thielen, so that's why I'm going to pick him.
I've got a Thielen.
Got it. So yeah, he's good. He is tough. I mean, he clearly got more attention in the second half last year and didn't do as well.
Right.
But he's a very good receiver.
Oh, for sure.
So it comes down to this is a classic guy. If he's going late second, you're like, oh, too high.
Right.
But then if he somehow falls to early fourth, you're snapping him up.
Yeah.
So very fine line. Him. Your other 2 picks, I think, have a little more variance on where they might go in the draft, and maybe they're guys that you're just like, I would never draft this guy, and that's DJ Moore and Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins definitely falls into like I would never draft this guy thing, and that might be a vengeful.
I'm pretty much right there with it.
That would be a that might be a vengeful
He's so
Bills
blah.
fan thing.
He's
but
so
like,
blah.
He was used to be so cool.
He lives in my friend's neighborhood in Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Good for you.
What's he like? What kind of car does he
I don't
drive?
think he knows him. There was like a massive, huge like pickup truck.
Really?
Yeah, like one of those like.
Okay, I'm more out now on Sammy Watkins. But I wanted it to be like a cool sports car because like that's what he feels like he should be as a player as the second receiver in the Chiefs offense. Like Tyreek Hill's about to be shadowed by Jalen Ramsey week 1, and somehow Sammy Watkins is still going to catch like 4 passes for 45 yards
because he's a Camry
and no touchdowns. Yes, because he's a Camry, and he gets hurt too. It's just like he's going top 30 among wide receivers. Like they're just more interesting names there for me.
He should be better.
Well, he should. Like
he should.
He should. But I guess like if Damian Williams is kind of the real deal, and then they have Kelsey and Hill, like he's like
he
the fourth
averaged
option in the offense.
51.9 yards a game.
That is
last
so
year.
blah.
And scored
How about
3
some examples?
touchdowns.
How about some guys behind him that you like more?
Scored 3 touchdowns in 10 games last year.
Where is Sammy?
And Mahomes threw.
Yeah. How's that
how many?
possible?
50. How many did he throw?
Yeah. What? 50, 52, I think. Yeah. That's crazy.
Corey Davis is going behind him. I like him more, despite that.
More on him in a minute.
Emmanuel Sanders going behind him. I'd probably take him ahead of Watkins. Curtis Samuel even is interesting. I don't know. I don't feel good about Watkins.
Sterling
like
Shepard?
Even if Watkins somehow, since I looked at this, he's at 35th on Fantasy Pros. Like even if like 34 receivers have gone off the board, like I would probably just
You're looking for someone
I would go
else.
somewhere else.
That's what I'm saying. You might go tight end at that point, or just an excuse.
running
There
back
does come a
flyer.
point in the draft where you're like, I'm really not interested in this guy in like any price.
There comes a point when you're not interested in anyone.
Well, usually it's receivers that you're just like, I just don't want him.
Right.
There's lottery tickets out there I'd rather have.
Right. Speaking of receivers, my other one, DJ Moore. You gonna interject something?
No,
here?
I was just gonna say, but don't you feel like Sammy Watkins could have a big year?
3 years ago,
I've been feeling that for a long time.
Yeah.
It
But
never
he
happened.
could.
He could. I mean, a lot
I mean,
can
we're
happen.
all putting Patrick Mahomes number one, right?
Yep.
And I know we like Hill, we like Kelsey,
You know who finished number one in quarterbacks last year? Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
You know who stunk last year?
Sammy Watkins.
You just said 3 TDs and 51
I
yards a
know.
game.
Well, if you had 3 TDs a game.
No,
that'd
3
be good.
TDs,
Right.
comma,
Total.
or period.
Yeah. In only 10 games, though.
Okay.
Okay, so
God,
then he
he
has 5 and 16. Great.
Why does he suck? He shouldn't suck.
We learned this like 3 years
Everything
ago.
the Bills touch turns to not good. So there.
Yeah, it is the Bills' fault. All right, Juice Moore.
Juice
Let's get to him.
Moore. I just picked him so you could say Juice Moore.
All right, perfect. Let's
but,
move on.
but if Cam's hurt, like Cam is always a little dinged up, worries me a little bit. If you like have Kyle Allen playing quarterback, everybody's sort of in on Curtis Samuel, and like maybe that's for real. Maybe DJ Moore isn't the number one wide receiver. They're not going to throw a ton to wide receivers, so if he's not the number one, all of a sudden loses
I think
value.
the DJ Moore hype's it's a little much.
little
He's not like
premature.
super hyped, but I feel like
He also
the hype for him's a little much.
right. He also has like no red zone value, so he like needs long passes to get him touchdowns, and he didn't do that last year. He only caught 2 touchdowns on 55 passes. I mean, it's
Deniston. That's his name.
right, and that's the other thing that Matt and I have talked
Really
about.
hurts his cause.
Deniston Juice Moore.
Deniston. Well,
No,
yeah,
he's Deniston Jr., but-
Moore Jr. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. 788 yards, 2 touchdowns. Last year, his rookie year, you like to think, second year he's going to be way better. I think his thing was like, he came on more toward the end of the year, which
Right.
always makes a guy seem like he's better. He had the one huge game, 7 for 157 and a touchdown. Then the next week he followed that up with 8 for 91. I think people just remember those 2 games and don't
that's
realize he really wasn't that good any other game.
Right. He's a guy. He'll have a few weeks like that. I mean, he's one of those kind of receivers that's like a sort of a bigger play guy that like once or twice is going to pop for you.
Yeah, it does feel like he has more upside, but he might not. He really might not, especially if Samuel takes. And look, I have Samuel on my list of sort of my bust list, and it's just largely because I don't trust Cam, and that would apply here as well.
Right. I just look at it, and Samuel's going 30 picks behind Moore. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
To me, like, there's just I don't really know how that's going to break down enough.
Right.
And like, obviously, McCaffrey gets the most targets. Olsen's still around. Ian Thomas is there. It's a lot of bodies.
Yeah. So Eric, your 3 receivers are just as blah as can be.
Yep.
All 3 of them.
Yeah, I'll start with Corey Davis. Kind of spoiled him a few minutes ago. The QB situation we talked about hasn't gotten any better since we last
Right.
talked about it.
Mariota's only getting older.
They're still looking at Mariota and
Right.
Tannehill. It's not good. And I'm a Corey Davis owner just because he's so cheap that
$2.
that no one will take him off my
No one
hands.
bids on him.
I just think he's destined to be.
You wake up every morning hoping someone bid on Corey Davis.
He just seems destined to be a 50 to 65 yard a game
828 yards,
dude who
5 touchdowns.
when
just enough to keep you interested.
when he scores a TD or maybe 2, like it's awesome. But there's going to be so many disappointing weeks of 5 catches for 54 yards.
So
And
891 last year receiving yards. The crazy thing about him, 65 catches on 112 targets. That's a pretty low catch percentage. That might be on the quarterback. 4 touchdowns. Another guy, I think maybe because they drafted him so high, it feels like he had, 6'3". He's got the size. He's pretty fast.
looks the part, got good arms.
Right. Good arms. Not like Josh Gordon.
No.
He
he's got the
is
best
that
arms.
good though, and that's what makes him interesting to me. Like I don't know where in that offense he does better than last season.
I mean, he had 4 games last
like,
year with double-digit targets.
I feel like his floor is last season though. Like even if that's his most likely outcome, I also feel like he doesn't go lower than 65 for 891.
Right.
So like you're getting him like you don't even have to draft him as a starting wide receiver.
I'm just looking at his.
Run first offense, terrible quarterback situation. It's
last-
not a recipe for like fun wide receiver to draft.
Not at all.
Yeah. And he's.
But we've got him. Sport News has him at 25.
I think we have him higher than most people.
ADPY.
We do
Okay,
have him higher
he's
than
at
most.
37 on Fantasy
Right.
Pros. That's
We're predicting
more
a little
fair.
breakout for him because I think Mariota can be better. I know you guys hate him. I think he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
at
but
some point he's going to have to show us that he's not.
he's had big years before.
years or games.
He's had a big year before. Like 3 years ago, he was really good.
okay.
So keep that in
He
mind.
was good at Oregon too.
Yes, he was good in college.
Oh wow, it's tough to be good at
Which is
Oregon.
pretty rare for.
It's tough to put up numbers at
Chip
Oregon.
Kelly's offense. Yeah.
Pretty rare for an NFL player to have been good in college. But
Yeah.
all right, Alshon Jeffrey, He's another guy that I just don't think people ever want to draft.
Yeah, again,
He is that guy.
Sport News ranked 17th wideout. Mm-hmm. Let's see where he is on Fantasy Pros. I should have wrote that
26.
down. 26. It's a little more fair. They added Deshaun Jackson, who's probably the deep threat now, which was kind of Jeffrey's role. So they got Jackson now. I've been hearing a lot of talk about Aguilar as a possession
He's gonna get
PPR
cut.
guy.
Might
He's
get
not
cut.
going to get cut. They got rookie.
Okay, because you know.
They got
9.5
Juice.
million
They got
here, he
they
might
got
get cut.
Juice. How do you say his last name?
Arcega
Arcega
Whiteside.
Juice.
Juice.
They got him coming up maybe. Jeffrey was 26 in standard leagues last year. There's guys behind him on our list. Cooper Kupp, Mike Williams, Tyler Boyd. Much rather.
So I guess,
JJ Arcega-Whiteside, New Year's Eve, baby.
well, and Alshon Jeffrey
that's
is
big.
Valentine's Day, baby. So what about
Interesting.
that?
Well, those are both great reasons.
So I think the reason for optimism
bring
on
up.
him is so the year Carson Wentz, he had Carson Wentz playing at an elite level for the 14 games. He had 9 touchdowns. The yards were never great. I mean, he hasn't had more than 843 yards since 2014. So that's sort of that's probably more of a worry than I think about, because I always think of him as a touchdown guy. So I think he can, 6 last year, he can really increase those touchdowns. If he can be around 1,000 yards, just have an improvement a little bit, be around there in the 900s, he's going to be good.
that's definitely the glass half full. I look at it like the receivers I mentioned. They got 2 good tight ends. I'd say they improved their running game this year.
Yeah.
They've at least got some, they got the rookie Sanders.
But I do think Wentz is going to be better.
Jordan
like
Howard's
healthier.
not good, but
Right.
compared to the names they were throwing out there last year,
Right.
their running game should be a little bit better. I don't know. Wide receiver 3, definitely not your wide receiver 2,
right.
or more of a flex.
It's
You're low on him.
it's really Wentz dependent though. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
like if Wentz looks like he did a couple of years ago, like Jeffrey probably has a really good year, and if he looks like last year, Eric's probably right.
You're right. I mean, he missed 3 games last year and had 843 yards and 6 touchdowns. So there's upside. And then Allen Robinson feels like he's basically Alshon Jeffrey.
He's just another blah guy. There was once high hopes for him in Jacksonville, and
Well, he had, 12 touchdowns that one year? 14?
yeah, since then he hasn't done much.
14.
There's a
Led
lot.
the league.
There's a lot of guys in Chicago.
There are a lot of people in Chicago.
You got Montgomery and Cohen in the backfield. You got Gabriel Miller, Trey Burton. I would just expect a lot of inconsistency with him.
Right.
I'm sad Riley Ridley didn't get mentioned.
He's gonna pop a TD here and there. I don't see him topping 100 yards very often. Mm-hmm. I see him at like 70-ish yards a game and a TD here and there.
Right.
Meh.
Yeah. Catch percentage last year, way down, 58.5. Or, I mean, not way down for him, I guess.
Yeah,
but
that's his thing though. He goes down the field. That probably is about right.
Yeah. So I just think their offense is going to be better this year. I think Trubisky's going to be better. So I'm still fine with him as a wide receiver 3. But again, if I'm pushing draft on Allen Robinson, I don't feel excited.
Right.
Him and Jeffrey both can be your wide receiver 3, but I kind of want them to be the 4th receiver on my team. You know what I'm saying?
You want to be a bye week fill-in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, this guy's turned out better than I thought, so I'm playing him more, but I don't want to draft him
Like depending on
as my 3.
Right.
I would hope not.
Yeah. So I'm going with the luck, the luck domino effect on T.Y. Hilton for my first one. And, it's kind of low-hanging fruit. But you just look, again, there's so much different than 2 years ago. But 2 years ago, I mean, he set career lows except for his rookie year basically across the board, and did have a career low in touchdowns with only 4, 57 catches, 966 yards. If that's his floor, that's not bad. He should do higher than that. But again, that's something that I want from a wide receiver 3, not a 2, which is where he would have gone before the Luck injury, because he was really good last year. He was really good in 2016 when obviously Luck was there. He led the league in receiving yards that year. A lot of upside with Andrew Luck. Without him, it's tough to say. Like, does he even crack 1,000 yards? He's pretty close. We know he's kind of big play dependent. That's the one thing about him, that Luck being out doesn't necessarily hurt him. Like, if they can't drive down the field as much or as often, he's sort of a big play guy anyway, so you're worried about longer touchdowns, not red zone. Like, I think Eric Ebron could be more affected by something like that. But I don't know. It's just a guy where he's going to come up, and I doubt I'm ever going to pull the trigger on
But
him.
how can you not downgrade guys like that when they're their meal ticket, Andrew Luck,
Right.
are either hurt or retired or whatever. Like, how can you, if Hilton was somewhere a week ago, how can you not downgrade him?
Right. And then, you look at the catch percentage last year, 63.3 career high, and the year before 52.3, which is the second lowest of his career. I mean, that's a big difference. And, if he's more efficient, that's huge. And it's even with Brissett expected to be better, have more time, etc. You can't expect him obviously to be as good as Andrew Luck and provide a player like T.Y. Hilton with as many catchable opportunities. Put it that way. So I don't know. I think we have him ranked like 20 something among receivers now.
Down to 25-ish.
That seems about right to me. But
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. You say that very flippantly.
Well, when we talk about guys on like the higher end of their position, which he was, it's easy to avoid them, right? Because
Right.
like there's another good player usually like right around them.
But yeah, he's a guy though, if there's an overcorrection and he really falls, then at some
Then he's
point
your like wide receiver 3.
Yeah,
They're like, all
and
right,
you're like, cool.
Hilton is my wide receiver 3. He's cool.
I got one of the best big play guys in the game. All right, another guy. I'm a little bit on an island with this guy, not liking him. We talked about some guys I like more than everyone. This is a guy I'm the opposite on. That's Chris Godwin. We've talked extensively about him, and just sort of there's a large Godwin hype train, and I get it. I get that Jackson and Humphreys are gone. There's more targets. He was pretty good last year. Bruce Arians is there. But I've said it before. I don't think people are appreciating how bad Winston can be. I don't think people are appreciating how bad that offensive line is. We know Mike Evans is there, who's going to command the most targets. We know O.J. Howard's there, who's going to get a lot of targets. Can he be better than last year? Absolutely. Significantly better than last year when he had almost 900 yards and 7 touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be significant. So drafting him as a wide receiver 2, which is where he's going, seems awfully lofty.
Awfully lofty.
Awfully lofty.
It's a pretty cool name.
Awfully lofty.
Pretty cool phrase.
But okay.
We should have ended the podcast there.
Right. So we compared him yesterday. We were comparing him to Calvin Ridley, who I like, who I'm way higher on than
Who
anyone.
did too much last year, and now everyone's against him.
So the difference is those guys left Tampa, whereas it doesn't feel like
Right, Atlanta's sort of the same.
anything new has opened up in Atlanta. But Calvin Ridley was better last year. He's
a better quarterback.
Better quarterback, better
offense in general.
Offense in general. Right? Well, it's certainly the pedigree.
Plays inside.
Plays indoors, which is huge.
Sure.
The pedigree's there. And people, I think maybe because he did a lot in a few games, people feel, he's inconsistent. He's just a...
Right. They're not even counting that he could get better in his second year.
Right. Well, I mean, he should
not necessarily
get better.
even statistically better, just become a better football player.
And Chris Godwin's going higher than him by several spots.
Well, and the other thing, we figured this out yesterday. He had 10 TDs. If that drops to 7,
which is what Godwin scored last year.
But he goes up from 850 to 1,000 yards, which isn't crazy. It's 67 yards a game.
Right.
That negates the TD drop, and it's the same
Pretty
season.
similar.
Yeah. So it's like his TDs are going to drop, and no one talks about his yards maybe going up.
Right. I mean, I don't really understand that. I mean, that's a sort of apples to apples comparison, but I just think in general Godwin's going too high. But that's just me.
So is this the part where you talk about Josh Gordon now and you change your tune?
Oh, I should instead of Curtis Samuel?
Yeah. We already touched on Curtis Samuel. Go to Josh Gordon.
Well, okay. I mean, Gordon is easy. He hasn't been consistent since 2013.
His arms look consistently good, though.
I mean, no, his arms look great. His arms look great. But he's just not on the field.
Yep.
And it's so easy for him to not be on the field.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, I don't want to make light of it, but the guy has legitimate problems.
Yeah.
Whether it's mental health, whether it's addiction problems, whatever it is. So I guess if you're drafting him as your 4th receiver and you're like, hey, he's a backup lotto ticket, but you still have to invest a pretty high draft pick in a 4th receiver.
Well, and right now he's going 29th among wide receivers, which is
that's
higher than
crazy to me. That's crazy if you're going into the year being like Josh Gordon is a starting wide receiver.
You reminded me how long ago 2013 was.
Yeah.
Last week. That was a long time ago.
I was way better looking in 2013. All right.
I mean, that could go either way. That makes it sound like, no, man, you're still really good looking.
Right.
But I was going for...
Right, you were ugly then, too.
Yeah.
I get it.
I was a junior in high school in 2013.
Yeah. Well, that didn't need
I
to be
was
said.
in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
Doing almost the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. No, it was...
how the world changes.
It was a long time ago, and look, he got fairly consistent targets last year once he joined the Patriots. But how many times?
Consistent, but not big targets.
Well, that's just it. he had a couple decent games, and how many times did he do something with those targets? You know,
he had a couple almost though, because I remember you owned him in one league and I owned him in another, and we'd come in on Monday and be like, "Oh, but that one that went off his hands that was just overthrown."
Oh, Brady underthrew him.
Imagine if that worked.
Right, Brady underthrew. Brady was underthrowing him, which is another reason not to like Brady.
He's never thrown a
Brady
good
doesn't throw a good deep ball. He's
Overrated.
older. And like,
I agree.
Gordon needs that.
God, can you imagine when Andrew Luck is starting for the Pats week 1 next year? How exciting that's going to be.
The offer is, hey, Andy, listen.
Andy, not Drew?
Oh, Bill. I mean, no, Bill would call me Andy.
Oh, Bill, you know him first name basis?
The phone call is, listen, we don't expect anything out of you right now. You wanna unwear yourself down, hold the clipboard for a year or two.
Right, hold the clipboard.
Hold the clipboard for a year or two.
Behind the goat. Watch and learn, okay?
Learn a few things. No pressure on you at all. You wanna just be nobody for a couple
Will he be deactivated
years?
on game days?
Yeah, if you want
Third
to be.
string? Okay.
We might throw him at tight end a little bit.
I mean, you got Stidham, so you're going to throw him at tight end.
And 2021, it's all Andy Luck's time. And he'll be recharged.
Where's Brady quarterbacking?
2021.
The XFL.
Oh, he's in the XFL.
You know who got a draft invitation from the XFL today? Percy Harvin.
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
Speaking of guys who probably were good in 2013, which is a really long time ago, Percy Harvin.
That dude is such a headache.
I remember having
That's what I was going for.
Good.
having a little, I guess, message board war with someone about who was going to be better, Percy Harvin or Jeremy Maclin. This was when they were both entering the draft. So
yeah. That's how we know how long ago that was. Message board war.
Exactly. That was a while ago. I normally don't engage in those, but you know, I had a dog in the fight. I had to stand up for Maclin. But yeah, Gordon, I don't get it. There's so many risks and so much worry.
And he's the exact guy that gets overdrafted.
And he's not going to be their number one receiver.
The big name on a big team. That's so the
with
guy.
With like the recent news.
Yeah, right.
That's such the guy that gets overdrafted.
Yeah, so someone else can deal with that. I dealt with it last year, and I don't want to do it again. And
that Gordon Henry combo last year. God,
fourth, fifth. Was it third, fifth, or fourth, fifth? Whatever it was.
So good last year.
I mean, I had Antonio Brown. He was good. I had Phillip Rivers. He was good. I had Keenan Allen. He was good. I think everyone else sucked, if I remember correctly.
Seems likely.
Yeah. Well, we didn't need that comment, but yeah.
Well, you finished 11th. I mean, it sort of adds up, right?
Yeah, it does add up. I just had bad matchups. I was scoring like the second most points every week, and God, it was stupid.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. All right, tight ends. Let's get to them. Billy, you're going with one of the top guys.
Yeah, I mean,
Bold.
I've been talking about George Kittle the whole preseason, and it's sort of the Thielen thing where it's not really anything against George Kittle. Mm-hmm. It's that his season last year was so yards dependent, and his yards were so dependent on yards after the catch. Mm-hmm. He had 63% of his yards after the catch, which is just like higher than basically anybody in football had. Almost no one was over half their yards. Mm-hmm. And nobody that's led the league in yards after catch has increased since 2010. It's just like not a stat that is like super duper repeatable.
Right.
And he had more than like anybody's had. I just don't. It feels there's like no precedent for a tight end with that many yards after the catch, like what he does next. Mm-hmm. But it just feels like a thing that isn't repeatable. So if he decreases by 100 or 150 or 200 yards, he's just like not as close to Zach Ertz as he should be. I think he's still probably the third tight end. Like I don't think he's a bust. We could make the jokes about the like no C.J. Beathard Iowa connection anymore. I don't think that matters. He'll be fine with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just like I don't think there's any way he repeats the yards he had last season, and that feels like what he counts on for the majority of his value.
I guess that would be the counter that he only had 5 touchdowns.
Right.
So if he bumps those up, how does it balance out? Because 1,377 yards led all tight ends in yards just doesn't seem close to repeatable. Right. Only 3 tight ends last year had over 1,000 yards.
It's just like for him to have so many yards after the catch, his usage is obviously like not in the red zone. It's like in the middle of the field, like on longer downs, like short passes and like let him go. But like he's not gonna turn those into like a bunch of 75-yard touchdowns. So that's where he would regain it, though. If Garoppolo in the red zone started turning to him in the red and throwing him touchdowns, I mean, he could have a good season. He will have a good season. I just don't think he
should.
Last year.
I guess the question is, could Evan Ingram jump him? Could O.J. Howard? I mean, I think they could.
They definitely could.
Will they?
Right.
I mean, what are the odds the top 3 tight ends are the same exact top 3 again?
Pretty good.
Because of injury or something like that. So he's interesting. I think you're right. He might be getting overdrafted a little bit, but it does seem like he's a premium type guy just because of the position. But 88 catches, 15 below Kelsey, and almost 30 below Ertz. It just feels like both. I mean, certainly Kelsey, we know he's going high for a reason. He's going well above him, but Ertz even feels like just way safer of a pick.
Yeah, Ertz feels like his production is more just like going to happen because he's going to get thrown 2 more.
Right. Would you take Ertz, Eric? Would you take would you take Kittle? So you have the number 1 pick. So 4-5 swing. Mm-hmm. Would you take Kittle on that?
I consider it, but see, the thing with the tight ends, it's weird, right? Like, it is more about where you're drafting them versus who, like, what order you put them in. Like you said, like, could still easily be the 3rd tight end if he's the 4th tight end, like, whatever, right?
Right.
We're not saying necessarily that Ingram or Howard is going to be better than him, but it's how early of a pick do you invest in.
Right.
Like, I think the 4-5 swing would be fine, I think.
Because if he doesn't put those numbers up, we're talking about Kelsey going in the 2nd round, right? And Kittle, I don't know where are people taking him in the 3rd? In the 3rd?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
maybe 4th.
He's going to have to do a lot to justify that, but he could still be the 3rd tight end off the board, which is probably still fair.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of...
It depends who I get. I mean, if you're asking me directly in that spot, I mean, it depends which guys I get. If I get 2 running backs and 2 receivers and I'm super happy about them, maybe. Mm-hmm. But I also think because of the way it goes, like, he's not going to be there.
Right.
Because if he doesn't go in the 3rd, he's just going to go in the 4th.
Right.
Probably.
He's not going to drop 2 rounds.
Probably. All right, who's your tight end?
David Njoku.
Uh-huh.
Really just, I mean, obviously they got OBJ there now. Mm-hmm. Still have Landry. You get a full season of Chubb. Yeah, I mean, last year he had, what do you have?
Don't forget Rashard Higgins.
Oh, yeah, Higgins too, for sure. Last year he had 56 catches on 88 targets for 639 yards.
4 touchdowns.
4 TDs. I could see the touchdowns maybe going up just because they probably score more in general as a team. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the yards really go up or the receptions really go up. I just think I don't want to say there's a lot of mouths to feed there, but OBJ is a big mouth that they didn't have last year.
He is a big mouth.
They're gonna fire and targets in there. Landry's still gonna get his.
Oh yeah.
Maybe Callaway after a suspension. Chubb,
Higgins.
Don't
forget Higgins.
Yeah.
So he's going 10th. That's his ADP among tight ends. Which, maybe now with the luck news, Ebron falls. I mean, any of us could have said Ebron too. Because I think the top 7 are fairly set, which is Kelsey, Ertz, Kittle, Howard, Ingram, Henry. Maybe Cook is a weird guy a little bit. But I feel like those are the top 7 in almost every draft in some order.
Yep.
And then you get Ebron, who could fall, McDonald, and Njoku. And then it just really feels like I don't want to draft any of these guys.
We'll put it this way: if I'm down to like Njoku, I'm probably waiting even longer and investing nothing basically in a tight end and hoping for the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grabbing my boy Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Trey Burton.
Got to take
Vance
Mark
McDonald.
Andrews.
Those guys.
Can't believe TJ Hawkinson's 13th. That seems way too high.
Shiny rookie.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, new Gronk. The Patriots' defensive coordinator is now Lions coach, so that means
that he's
tight end's going to be Gronk. I love when
Did you see Patricia on their last preseason game? He did something to his leg, so he's got to watch it. They shielded him with the Gatorade things, and he was kneeling on a table behind this big thing of Gatorade, so nobody could run into his leg.
Think he designed that with his rocket science degree?
I was thinking the same thing.
With the pencil behind his ear.
Same thing.
That guy,
he's
man.
Such a rocket scientist.
He inspires so little confidence.
At what point, as a Lions fan, are you going to be like, can you just go be a rocket scientist, please?
I was last year. I was like, just be a rocket scientist then. You're so good at it. Just go be a rocket scientist.
Yeah, just go do that.
Speaking of rocket scientists, Matt, who's your tight end?
How was Vance McDonald a rocket scientist?
He's not. It was the worst segue.
It wasn't a good transition at all, but no, Vance McDonald.
Bad.
And that's why he's an intern.
Yeah, it's the only.
I just got fired.
Leave the segues to the pros.
Yeah. So Vance McDonald could have said, speaking of fat people, McDonald's.
No,
because Matt Patricia's fat.
It was an intentionally terrible.
Yeah,
transition.
you say that now, but I have no proof of that.
We try and do things a little more professional here on the podcast. Maybe you'll learn that at some point.
He'll learn. He'll get there.
Yeah. Aren't you supposed to be mentoring him?
Yeah. Well, you can only do so much.
Is it your problem?
It's a day at a time. All right. Vance McDonald. Another guy I just think he's getting overdrafted. He's the 9th tight end, and I get Jesse James is gone, Antonio Brown is gone. The Steelers just don't use tight ends that like they always have a second guy, and you look at them. I feel like every year we like a Steelers tight end. It feels like he's going to do better. It's been since like Heath Miller,
Right?
How about
many years
their
ago.
offensive coordinator that was like, yeah, he's not going to play any more than he did last year.
Right? I'm just saying.
That's a weird thing for you to say, but I guess I'll take something out of that.
It's just one of those things where the precedent isn't quite there. It feels like he's going to do well, but I don't know. They got a bunch of wide receivers, obviously not as good as Antonio Brown, but just dudes are going to be in there and get targets. Juju's going to get a ton. I don't know. I because of the position, it's easy to elevate guys because you're like, who else am I going to draft? Delaney Walker?
Jason Witten.
Yeah, who else am I, even like Jimmy Graham. Those guys just feel like I have no interest in Greg Olsen. So I guess that's why Vance McDonald sounds more exciting.
Just moves up by default.
Yeah.
He kind of does.
That guy, not
Because
that
he's
guy,
just
not
sort of
that
an
guy.
unknown where it feels like those other guys, they've already peaked. We know their ceiling. It's not that high. Maybe Vance McDonald does have 11 touchdowns, so I'll take him. But I just think he's going overall way too high. 9th among tight ends might not even be crazy, but
Again, it's what round you invest in.
yeah. And I just think he's going to get overdrafted, so there's no way he's going to be on any of my teams. That's kind of how
Well,
I
that's
see
because
it.
you're taking Travis Kelce in the second round.
No, I'm not anymore. I'm off that. I'm
we'll
going.
see.
I'm going. Nah, I'm going to take Todd Gurley.
Were you just pointing at the name that's not on your back right
That's
now?
right. Yeah, plus my neck hurts. But yeah,
I
I
also
just,
like your teams this year. You have one team this year.
that's all I need.
My team. He's not going to be on any of my teams.
I'm gonna walk-
Real bold statement.
Well, if I had 26, he'd probably be on one of them.
Probably,
But I just think, yeah, tight end's a weird. Like I punted it last year and it was terrible and it didn't work out. But if I don't take Kelsey, I have a feeling I'm punting it again this
There's
year.
always Mike Gesicki.
There is always Mike Gesicki. That's a good.
Always available.
There's always Mike Gesicki. There's always Noah Fant. Like there's always a couple of those guys. I don't know who's the best target though. If I really punt it, because remember our league
Mark
last
Andrews.
year. No,
What
remember
about Trey Burton though, who's going after these guys?
no
we just
Trey
talked
Burton's
about?
going way too low.
Yeah, last year he went way too high, and this year he's going too low.
Yeah.
But like we talked about, remember last year in our league when everyone started drafting a second tight end? And some people drafted 3.
Like, well, now that we have a flex, I can just use him there.
And I wound
Okay.
up with the 2 hyphenates.
Yeah.
I had Safarian Jenkins and
Seals Jones.
Seals Jones.
Yeah. I had Mike Gesicki.
Yeah. Was he your starter week 1? Couldn't have been. That'd have been really
might have
bad.
been.
I feel like he started one.
Maybe
week
no.
for
You know what? I picked him as a second, as a lotto ticket tight end.
Yeah. Lotto
remember. I don't
ticket
remember.
tight
I
end.
don't remember who I had.
Oxymoron
So
if there ever was.
stupid.
I think I might have had one. I might have had like. Did I didn't have Olsen. I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
At the end of the day,
I didn't have
it
one of the
doesn't
good
matter.
ones. I didn't have one of the good ones.
Yeah. Did you have Gates? I feel like you had Gates.
Maybe later on.
And I
didn't
was actually
draft him.
upset about it.
No, I don't. I wouldn't have drafted him.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Someone did.
Who knows?
I know that much.
Let me go look at the league history of our.
I want to forget last year. I don't look
Me
back
too,
at that
because this
history.
year is the year of
You're
me.
back.
I'm back.
It's the year of
Me
you.
back.
It's really exciting. So those are our
Back, baby.
do not drafts, but still draft them. Because Eventually. It just all comes down.
Sure.
Yeah. They're all pretty good players. They're all going to be at least on rosters in week 1, and a lot of them are going to be
Yeah,
starting.
this would have been a really boring podcast if we just talked about players you actually shouldn't draft.
Right. Chris Hogan.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Backup kickers.
Right. Don't draft Fitzpatrick. Yeah, we're really
Jared Stidham.
helping people out.
No,
that
definitely
way.
take
Well,
Stidham.
I kind of like Stidham.
Stidham's
He's
actually
gonna be a stud.
interesting. He's actually really good, so I would probably draft
Like
him.
Josh Oliver. Are you going to draft Josh Oliver? Do you know Josh Oliver?
He's on our
is?
tight end
Yeah,
sleepers
Jaguars
list.
tight end.
Okay.
Big guy.
Just
San Jose,
San Jose
State.
State.
Just checking. Okay.
Impressed.
All right.
What's their nickname? I don't even know.
San Jose State?
Yeah.
Are they the.
I was going to say Mustangs, but that's not right.
They might not.
They're the Spartans. That's boring.
Not close enough.
They have a lot of Spartans.
That's a high school team nickname.
Sparta is very close to San Jose.
Yeah, but that's still a high school team nickname.
And
I don't like
Mustangs
that.
isn't?
Mustangs is too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's not a
Your
good
college was the Tigers.
one. My college?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The most boring.
Talking about high school
That's
nicknames.
super boring. But, well, it's the ultimate college nickname. That and Wildcats.
Yeah.
Those are the two.
Always pick them to win.
Yeah. Wildcats. I mean, one of them.
Won a lot of brackets picking the Wildcats.
Got to pick the Wildcats and the Tigers. All right. So next week we'll be back. I don't know exactly what we're going to do next week just because it's that weird day before the regular season.
Maybe some bets, some season bets.
We might do so.
Maybe we can do that Mike Fires podcast next week.
Let's get. When is that game being played, by the way?
All we remember
When
is that it's September, so it's any day now.
Got to get that suspended
The Red
game
Sox had
finished.
one of the 15 minutes they played, suspended game, and the Royals flew into town for that.
Yeah.
They weren't playing again that night. They flew in the morning, played for 15 minutes, and flew out of town. Suspending games are dumb.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of suspending games. Just give them ties. I think we're all okay with that.
Tell you what, Mike Fires is 13-3. He pops that off. He's a 20-game winner.
It's a big win. With a no-no?
Yeah.
I don't know why he wouldn't win the Cy Young. Yeah, but we will be back next week. Then we'll get into our season swing. And I think we're going to have a good week.
We have our draft. It's going to be weird podcasting next week, having our draft.
I mean, I suppose we should talk about week 1 next week. So we'll get into it and we'll break it down.
We should.
Yeah, I suppose we should. But
is that coming, week 1?
Yeah, week 1 is coming far too early. Maybe Zeke will be there.
I wasn't excited about football like 2 weeks ago.
Melvin Gordon will be there.
Starting to get a little more excited.
Let's hope.
Melvin Gordon will be nowhere near.
I'm not as excited for football as I am about TV tonight.
Well, few are. It's a big TV night with BH 90210.
That's right.
Return of MTV's The Challenge, Big Brother, just all the hits.
You could throw in Married at First Sight on there.
I mean, you can't, but yeah.
You can. You can.
I mean, you really can't.
I won't be getting to that tonight, but...
That's only because it's in Charlotte this year. That's why. You like local B-roll scenery shots. Yes. That makes it... I've been there! Skyline shot! I drive past that building every morning. I don't know why you're excited about that.
Old. Same B-roll, too.
Does it get
Same
old?
B-roll every episode.
Yeah, it doesn't...
Hey, there's Tryon Street. Here, there's the light rail.
Dude, you call your friends. Dude, are you watching? I know that building.
No, but there are some legitimate...
There's a Chick-fil-A in it. I eat at it like once a week.
There's a legitimate triple header on tonight.
A legitimate triple header. So, thankfully, no football. That'll be tomorrow. And
you're not going to watch it anyways.
Well, I mean, 4th preseason game. Come on. Who wants to watch that?
That was my point.
This guy.
Right. No one wants to watch that. Wouldn't it be funny? I was saying this to him earlier. If Zeke signed tonight and they played him in the 4th preseason,
like, you know what? Let's see what you got.
Guess what, buddy? You're in. He'd refuse, right? He'd refuse.
He'd leave again. Yes, he would walk right back out.
He'd quit.
They'd be like, well, we got to keep Tony Pollard rested for week 1. So
come on, we're not starting you. We got to see what you got. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. All right. If you are having your draft this weekend or early next week over Labor Day or something like that, go to sportnews.com/fantasy. Look for our cheat sheet. That's got links to absolutely everything you could ever need. I don't think we missed anything this year that people could want if they have a draft or auction. Click on every single one of them.
We got to pay the bills.
Yeah, we really do. A couple of them are slide lists, but our slide lists are different now, so you don't even. It looks just like a regular article.
You just scroll down the page.
But
no big deal.
We get page views for every single one of the slides, quote unquote. So.
Sitting on a gold mine.
God, we need it bad too. God,
scroll those slide lists.
Just scroll them.
Scroll them, baby.
Go down and then back up even. Just give us 62.
I don't know if we get credit for the way back up.
All right, well don't do that.
But then if they went down again, would we get much?
Get them on get them on your tablet, your phone, every device you have.
Just help us out, people.
God, we need it.
We don't want to have to do a telethon.
That's right. Yeah.
You don't want us to have to do a telethon.
No, you really don't. But anyway, that's where everything is. Like I said, we'll be back next week. We'll get in our regular season swing of things. So, for Billy Hayen and Eric Ferreira, I'm Matt Letuski. Thanks for listening, and until next time.